In this tech talk, we are going to be discussing what white label is, why do we need it, how does it benefit Agoda, and how this is replicated by other platforms as well. Anybody who's interested in front end or back end developing, this is something which is going to be interesting to all of you. To give you an introduction about our speaker, Tamarit has been with Agoda for over 2 years, and he has worked with accommodation, with flights, and YCS white labeling. Into his personal self, every time he codes, he often falls under existential crisis. I'm not sure how many of the developers share the similarities with him, but that's who Tamarit is. I'll hand it over to Tamarit. Thank you, Tamarit, for having this tech talk. All yours.
Yeah, thank you very much for joining the Tech Talk. So, as Bri introduced me, my name is Amarit, and I've been working for White Label project for the last 2 years. I've been working with the accommodation team, YCS, and also White Label. So today we are going to talk about the White Label at the product. Okay, before we begin, I want to ask you the question. Before this talk, did you know that there are some other online travel agencies that they are using our code base? Do you know that before? Are they imitating us? Are they being a counterfeit? Are they being a knockoff? I can show you some examples of this. So this is Agoda that we know and love. We use it every day. And this is another website. It looks very similar to us. Right? They almost use exactly the same background image as us. So this is another website that looks very similar to Agoda website. Use almost the same layout. Apart from some English website, we also have a Japanese website. This one, the difference, was going somewhere. Okay, the difference is that we have sorry, there must be something wrong. Okay, there is a map here. This map is very unique to this website. But apart from that, the website still looks almost exactly the same to us. Okay, so they are not using our code for free. These are white labels, so they are our partners. We let them to use our website. When we redevelop our website, we make it for them as well. I hope you can hear me loud now, right? Okay.
It's better,
so,
yes.
Yeah, it's better. Okay, thank you. So apart from white labeling on the software world, there are also some white labeling on the hardware world as well. So these are two companies that they made the same phone, but they put the different bands on it. And as we can see, the white label did not only using the software world. We also have it in the hardware world as well. So what are the benefits of white labeling? The first one is obvious. When we have more white label, it adds more feature to the website. For example, when we have another market, we will have more features from them. It can be some features that we didn't know the user want to use before. Okay. The second one is when we write once, we can run it everywhere. When we have implement this feature, if there are new white labels, we can add this to those white labels as well. So we only implement it only once. The third one is we can broaden our market and our business. So we can get more people using our website. We can learn their behavior. We can know more about the behavior of the customer. Okay, so I'll let you guess while I was sorting out this voice and noise, how many white labels are there at the moment? How many white labels do you think there are today?
Yeah, you would have received a poll. So if you can chat up your answers in that will help us create a word cloud of your answers.
500. Oh, that's a big number. We really hope we will get there one day, but I don't think. I think that's a bit too high.
And we have smaller from
71
to 100 to a lot.
We have around
very
50.
Ambitious.
50, okay.
51 is what we are working
Please,
on.
no.
We are
Wow, we
counting
have
only the
2,000
live
also.
website.
See, we are an enthusiastic bunch. We like, Agoda to have a lot of white labels. Okay, 2000 is the highest, 2000 going once, going twice, going thrice. Okay, sold.
Now
Okay, come,
let's.
we are not doing that.
We have one countless as well.
That's an amazing case. I think I saw some answer. So right now we are having 9 white labels at the moment. Okay. Can you see the number 9 on the screen?
That's a disappointment, Reith. We were going for countless and 2000, and then you tell
Yes,
only 9.
it's only 9, but we are expanding more and more. We are having more white labels every quarters, I guess, and now we are having like 2 or 3 more at this quarter.
I think when somebody mentioned 2000, many guys from white label team, including me, had a stroke.
Yeah, we really have, we will have 2000, right? Okay, so today is the topic. The topic is about white labeling at Agoda, and I structure this talk into 5 main parts: A, B, C, D, and E. So A, we are going to talk about the architecture of Frontend. I'm going to give you a brief, simplified architecture of Frontend to make sure that we have the same understanding before we move on. B is for building a website from a URL. So when a user send us a domain name, it comes to our website. How do we know that this white label, this URL is for this white label? C is for configuration and feature management. How we manage those features, what are features, and how we manage those configurations. D about development and testing environment. I'm going to give you a bit of history of testing environments that we have done before, and what are the drawbacks of those approach, and what is our current solution. And lastly, everything you should do. So after this talk, I want you to be able to go back to your system. When you implement a feature, you can make sure that your feature won't break on white labels. So let's move on to the first topic, architecture of the front end. So this architecture, it is very simplified version. Do you see the white page with WebKit? Do you see that? Because on my second screen, I see the 9 variable. Okay, you see that. Thank you. Okay, so we have WebKit as a reverse proxy. What is a reverse proxy? Well, normal proxy or forward proxy is we have many computers, right? And we have a middleman, a representative to make this request for those computers. So when there are many computers, it asks this computer to make the request for them to the internet. A reverse proxy is when the request from the internet comes to this computer, and it says that, oh, this request it should go to this computer. This is a reverse proxy. It decides which computer, which server, which service this request should go to. WebKit is a reverse proxy. When there is a request from the internet, it will say that which downstream service the request should go to. Then when WebKit will decide the downstream service. 2 main downstream services that we have is the Dictator or Chronos right now. It is for desktop website, and MSPA for mobile sites and booking form. There are some exceptions. We still have MMB, those kind of things as well, but this one is very simplified version. I'll put it just 2. The third one is the backend services, and MSPA connect to backend services via gateway, and Dictator connect to the backend service directly and also via gateway. And the white label service connects to gateway as well. So this is a very simplified version of the front-end architecture. Moving on to the next topic is building a white label from your URL. So those white labels, they are using the same server, the same architecture of Agoda. So the only difference that they have is the URL. When a URL comes to WebKit, how do we know that which white label it is? So to resolve a white label from a URL, WebKit performs a pattern matching, and it passes those information to the downstream services. And when we know the white label ID, the white label information, we get the colors, themes, and logo from Thai.js. IJS is our front-end library, and it provides colors and themes. So this is a simplified version. When the request comes to WebGate, it will check it will perform URL pattern matching with this variable configuration, and it will get the variable info. The file looks like this. We have the list of the variables here. So we don't use the variable service for this because the WebGate team has an SLA to make sure that it returns in a very short time. So they have to have this configuration on WebGate, but they have tests to make sure that it matches the variable service. So WebGate will do pattern matching on the URL. We have the list of URL here, and we'll pass those to the stream service. So when we get back from variable configuration, we get the variable ID, we get the variable key passed to dictator, NSPA, or MMD, those kind of stream service. And they will get the theme, the logo from IJS. Now we have seen the architecture, we have seen that we have built a website. But when we do this, we only have the different website with different logo and colors only. How can we add functionality to make them different? This is the section of that, how we manage configurations and features. Before we begin, what are features, you may ask? Features are a set of configurable options for each variable. We have many features. Let's look at some example. The first one is currency. The currency on Japanican, it is a Japanese website. We have only 6 currencies, but on Agoda, we have many 10 or 20 currency on our website. This is an example of a configuration. Another one, Japan prefecture map on Urubu. This one is another feature. It is unique to Urubu, but when we have a configuration management, it means that if there are another variable that want to use this map, we can enable for them easily. And the last example would be sign in and sign up button. There are some variables like T-Mobile that they don't have the sign in, sign up button right now. We disable this feature for them, but when they are ready with sign in, sign up, we can enable them easily. So this kind of features. Another case, how many features are there? Thoroughly. Can you guess? In the chat, we can do in the chat. Or you have a poll for this one? Can we guess? 500? Wow. 220, 51. 1,000. Wow. That's a lot. 10, 20, over 9,000. I see some Dragon Ball fan here. 2022. I love that answer. Okay, so let me give you the answer. Currently, I just saw the variables service was deployed. So currently today, we have 289 features right now. Okay, so this is quite a big amount of features. How would you manage those features? Are we going to do it something like this? Are we going to have state.variable ID equals to Agoda or state.variable ID equals to Rubu? Then do this. No, that's not a good idea. That is code smell. And actually, I have seen some kind of code like this hard coding on our code base as well. So please don't do this. It is a code smell when a cat sees this, it's sick. Okay, so we have to have a way to manage these features. We introduce a service, we call it variable service. What is a variable service exactly? Variable service is a place that contains the list of configurations for all variables. Every features that are different on those variables, you can find it on the variable service. It provides two clients, C# and Scala, for you to use. Okay, so if I want to add a feature to a variable, how can I do that? So first of all, you have to go to those features. For example, this one is coupons. I think the JTB team will love this one the most. The coupon features, we can add your variable. For example, if I want to add coupons feature for, let's say, Lotte, we can add another line here. We say that feature variable feature rule, variable equals rotate. And then we can say that, are we going to enable it for all origin, for all device? And what is the form, are we going to enable them or disable them? So we can have another line here like club travel for all origin, but we can enable it only on desktop website as well. So the first thing, add your variable in the feature file. And if the feature can be configured, there are two types of features. The first one is just Boolean. You can just turn it on or off. The second type of feature is this, like coupons. You can have a sub configurations inside this one. So if there are configurations for coupons, you can add it here. So for example, you go to the variable.configuration file, you add those configurations. And when you do that, just two things, and update the test, the variable service will compile your configurations into the output. So the output, you will have those configurations and whether or not it is disabled. This one is just a snapshot from the whole configuration. Okay, so these are just two steps for adding a feature to a variable. It is very easy for you to do. And the variable service provides two clients, C# and Scala. How does this client work? So when we call, for example, for dictator, when you start the application, the variable client will get the configuration file from the variable service, and it will save to the top level folder. So it will save as variable v4 configuration file. The reason we do this because in the past we was using database before, but it turns out that the performance wasn't great, so, and the configuration doesn't change a lot. So we can just get the configuration and save it in a file. Now, when there is a function that calls this variable client, the variable client will read the configuration from this file, and it will return back to those functions. It is very simple thing to do. Okay, so this is the way that the variable client works. But there is another problem. So let me ask you this: does Fluffy is Fly API care about Japan prefecture map? We have a poll here. Wow, this is a hard question. We have a lot of options to choose from. Yes and no. What do you think? Does Fluffy care about the Japan prefecture map? It was a feature on Rulebook that we showed before. Yes, Fluffy care about Japan prefecture maps, or no? Okay.
We have a good divided group.
Yeah, we have like a 50-50. Okay, so not yet. Oh, that's a good answer. So yeah, the answer is no. Fluffy Fly API doesn't care about Japan prefecture map. It is unique for hotel site. But if we are using the variable service for this configuration, it means that Fluffy will read this configuration as well, and it is useless for them. The Fluffy doesn't have to care about Japan prefecture map. So the variable team, they introduced another service called variable management. What is it? It is kind of variable service-ish, but it is all local. You have to define the behavior locally. It is you can say it is a bit hard coding, but it is still maintainable, and it has a lot of benefits, which I'm going to show you next. So the first benefit of behavior management is you can see the changes faster. Before that, you have to wait for the variable service to deploy. If you make a wrong configuration, you have to wait for another 1 or 2 days for them to redeploy. But with behavior management, you can add the configurations and then see the change immediately. The next one is it allows better mocks and tests. You can have a lot of tests. You can test the origin. You can test the variable service configuration. You can test the variable ID, those kind of things. It is more robust for testing. And lastly, it enables code analysis. So the variable team, they have a plan to add code analysis for those behavior management. So with behavior management, it enables them this. So how can you create a behavior? It is easy, like 1, 2, 3 steps. The first one, you define behavior. Constant your cool behavior, equals this new client-side behavior object. You name it. Then the second step is you add the condition. For example, this condition is not variable ID equals Agoda. So we are enabling this behavior for all variable apart from Agoda. Then you can join those conditions as well. You can join the variable service as well. So for example, I want to take this configuration from the variable service. I can add another condition, and variable feature contains feature ID and then the variable feature names. So you can combine them together. What are the options that you can have? You can have experiment, you can have origin, you can have culture, you can have variable ID, variable features, device type, domain name, and server side. So the server side, it is the evaluation from the server, but I don't think we often use this one. But the variable service team make it possible for us if we want to use. So these are 8 configurations available for behavior management. What are the conditions? We have equals, we have any, we have contains, we have contain any, we have contain all. This kind of thing, you can see the document on the behavior management repository. And the last one, what are the possible operations? We have with, we have and, or, and not. You can join them together. It's almost exactly like writing a condition on normal coding. Okay, these are the 3 things that we can use with variable. We have conditions, we have join operators, and then we can have contains any, those kind of things. Now, when you are satisfied with your conditions, you add .build. So if you build the condition for you, then you add the fallback strategy. What should be the default behavior if there is something wrong? For example, if a variable ID cannot be resolved or the variable service is not available, you add this will be the default behavior for you. Finally, if you have a features from the variable service, you have to add this. You can take those configurations. For example, from coupons, we can take those options down here. If your feature is just a Boolean, if it's just on or off, you don't need to have this one. This one is only if the feature has configuration object. Now that's it. That's the way you define a behavior. It's very simple. It's almost exactly the same as behavior management, right? But how we use it? Well, the variable team, they create a very nice React hook for us. So we can use something like constant is the behavior enable, and we can use the hook, use behavior. You pass the behavior inside the hook, and you will get this. This one is the Boolean, whether this feature is enabled or not. If your behavior has configuration inside, it will be passed to this one. Okay. And the way to use it, you can use something like this is if the behavior enable, you return this component. And if you want to pass the configuration, you can pass into this one. It will take, this one will be the name of the options in your variable service. So you may have a question, which one to use? The question is simple to decide whether you should use the variable service or you should use the behavior management. It is very simple. If the feature that you are going to use is used by multiple systems, for example, it's going to be used by Dictator, it's going to be used by Spa, and also Flappy, Happy, those kind of things, you should use the variable service because we have the only one source of truth. But if it is used by only one component, one system, for example, if it is only used on MSPA or on Dictator, use behavior management. Okay, so I think this one is the very clear condition for you to choose from. And I believe the variable team also recommend, even though you are using the variable service, they recommend you to wrap the variable service configuration under a behavior management because you can test more and they can run the code analysis too. For example, the Japan prefecture map, it wasn't a Boolean, but they wrap it in the behavior as well. Now, we have seen the first 3 topics architecture, we have seen the configuration management, and we have seen the building a variable from URL. Let's look at the test strategy. So we have finished the development. Now it's time to test. On front-end side, we have 3 stages for testing and development. The first one is development and QA. This one, it is using mock data. The second one is pre-live. Pre-live, this one use the same data as the production one, but it's contained in our system. The last one is the production that every user use. Now, these 3 stages, we have to be able to specify PR. For example, for PR 1, 2, 3, 4, we have to be able to specify to test it on pre-live or on development environment. For Agoda, it is easy. We can just have this URL, right? We can have URL pull request 1234.prelive.agoda.com, or for QA, we can have pull request 1234.qa.agoda.com. It was easy. But when we have more other variables, how are we going to design those systems to support those variables as well? Well, let's go back to a bit of history. The first one that we did was the no T era. No T stands for not yet. So at that time, we have 3 variables. We have no TJA, not yet Japanican. The second one is no TRU, not yet Urubu. And the last one is no TPCLN, not yet Priceline. It was a first 5 variable. The way it works is, for those pull requests, it was similar to Agoda. We have pull request 1234.prelive.agoda.com. For Urubu and Japanican, we can have pull request 1234.prelive.notyetja.com. It was working good until, okay, let me give you a diagram for that. So we register those domain name, and when it goes to the DNS, it will resolve Agoda's IP, and it sent to WebGate. I believe it was AGGate back then, and it will pass the variable ID down to the downstream services. Now, it was working fine, but it was not yet perfect. So there was some problem with that. The first one is the cost. We have to register those domain names, those certifications. And imagine if you have 10 variables, you have to register 10 domain names, 10 certifications. Who are going to maintain them? The second issue is the cost. Cost is cost resource, cost origin resource sharing. So when you have a website, for example, on domain A, if you make a request to domain A, it works fine. But when you make a request to domain B, if the domain B doesn't configure to accept your request, it will get some errors. And it was very frustrating. If we have many domain names, we are going to have this kind of cost issue. And I found some cost meme while I was researching for this. I'm going to let you enjoy that while I sip this cup of coffee. As you can see, cost was such a pain in the butt. So yeah, we have to find a better way for this. It should be more scalable. It should be easy to do. So we think instead of sending a URL, instead of register many domain names, why don't we just send a header to it? So we move on to another era, header era. So the way we do is that we send a header. It's called AG variable ID with the variable ID with the request. So for developer who install a extension, it is called mod header, and we send the variable ID with this header. For example, for variable ID 32, we send AG variable ID 32, and the only domain name that we use is pull request, your pull request ID like 1234.webgateprelive.agoda.com. Only one domain name. It was very easy. It was scalable. And if you want to use QA, you can use pull request 1234.qa.agoda.com. Okay. So this is a simplified diagram for this. We request only one URL master.webgateprelive, and we send the white label ID, and WebGate will resolve it and pass it downstream. However, header gives us headache. There are some disadvantages as well. The first one is it is difficult to test on mobile. How are you going to force the header on mobile? Imagine you can try that right now. Open Chrome on your mobile and try to force your header. Yes, you can. You might be able to install some extension, but it was a headache. You can use child proxy, but this was still a headache. The second thing is it was inconvenient for a partner to do UAT. Imagine some non-tech people, some executive level, they want to see the website, and you ask them, hey, please install more header. I don't think they have time for that. And the last problem was, it was problematic for end-to-end and automated testing. When we did Selenium test to make sure that we don't have problems, we have to write some part of code to tell the Selenium and Chrome diver to install the mod header, and we have to configure them. It means that we have more system to maintain, and it means that we have more points to fail. So we have to move on from header. We see that, oh, we have moved from Node era, the header era. Why don't we combine them together? So the white label team, they created a new solution. It is called white label solution domain era. The way it does is we add one more layer. It is another white label proxy before WebGate. So the white label proxy will perform pattern matching on the URL, and it passes those information to WebGate. So for example, the domain can be something like pull request 123 -pre-live.whitelabel42.whitelabelsolution.net. So we are saying that it is pull request 123 on the pre-live environment on the white label number 42, and we send this information down to WebGate. It is very scalable. And for UAT, we can have just UAT.whitelabel45.whitelabelsolution.net. Okay, so if we see, as you can see, the white label proxy is placed here, and it performs pattern matching on the incoming URL, and it passes those information to WebGate before WebGate pass those information down to downstream services. Now we have seen everything. We have known about the architecture of Frontend. We have seen the building a website. WebGate is responsible for resolving the URL, and Kai is responsible for colors and scheme. We have seen the ways to maintain. Okay.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
I just joined. So basically, you need to have many server in front of WebGate, right?
We have a proxy in front of WebGate. Yes.
I mean, you need to have the real VM server, right?
I think that there are people who know better than me. I believe there are some white label people.
Do you mean white label proxy?
Yes.
Yeah. So we are planning to deploy on Kubernetes. Yeah.
Do we have team here? I have a concern about the capacity because maybe you will sit in front of WebGate, right? You need to be stable enough.
Yeah,
because
actually,
you are the first. You act like a first gate for Agoda.
But I don't think this is for production traffic, right?
Yeah, this is for pre-live environment and QA environment.
Yeah, I think it's enough for test. No problem.
Okay, that even if the white label proxy is going down, your actual test is not affected. Like you still have a way to headers and do other things in order, like temporarily do the testing. So it makes your life so much easier. It's just that it doesn't do it in a manner that if white label proxy is down, not like the end of the world.
You can even use the another domain to access WebGate directly, right? But for white label proxy allows you to use new whitelabelsolution.net domain, which is more scalable.
Another solution, I'm not sure. Someone talk about that. So can we do it like the first middleware in the WebGate itself in the pipeline?
We think about that solution before, but we think the functionality of variable proxy and WebGate are different, and we don't want to add the code into WebGate, which is not using on production.
Because you just need to extract some information, right, and put it to some header to tell
Yeah.
WebGate, okay, this is the variable 1, this is variable 2, something like that, right?
Yes.
So I think you can sit in the WebGate repo with the different folder.
Yeah,
But
actually,
we can add in or take I mean we can put in the first put in that middleware only for P-Live, but for Live we can take it off, something like that.
yeah, we think about that. Yeah. Thank you, but it is more
Because in term of
functionality. Yeah.
the resource, right? Right now, if you need to run in the Kubernetes, at least you need 2 core of the CPU, right? 2 core and maybe 2 memory. 2 gig of memory. So if we have like a 10 PR per day, 10 PR per hour, you're gonna consume the Kubernetes cluster resources. Maybe something that it like a trade-off. Yeah, just need to mention.
I think you are thinking that we deploy the white label proxy with every one of the PR, right? But that's not the case. White label proxy is a static environment that's not getting deployed with incremental number of peers. It's going to be a concern like, okay, if suddenly 10,000 people wants to start testing their PR at the same time, but we don't deploy more instance of white label proxy just because there are more instances of PR. White label
And how
proxy
do you if you need to test many versions at the same time, how can we do that?
Do you mean many versions of what?
The white label proxy. If you did a change, right? If you open 10 PR and you need to test that. How can we do that?
So as you can see here, white label proxy is passing the URL. So let's say you want to test on pull request A, then you can point to pull request A. If you want to test on pull request B, you can change the URL, and white label proxy will change the routing to pull request B. Yeah. It will be much more detailed on the URL scheme that you can even specify the downstream component that you want to test. Like if you want to connect to a specific gateway, you can do that too. That's what we decide for variable proxy. We don't deploy variable proxy for all of the pull requests.
Okay.
Yeah.
It is also important to have the same point of entry for all of the DNS entries, because otherwise, every time when you change this configuration or you have a new subdomain, you need to annoy infra team with all of these changes, and that's something that we want to avoid or at least reduce.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm so glad that the experts are here. I did not do this part. I think. Thank you very much, Max and Anton, for helping with the answer. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, so the last part that I want to talk is the everything for everything you should do after this talk to make sure that your features or your system is good with white label. So I have 3 actions: A, B, and C. A is to always have a fallback white label or default behavior. So what happens if a white label is solving, it fails or something like that? We actually have this kind of problem as well. I'm still investigating and I still cannot find which service doesn't handle the default white label. B is to beware brand leakage and always test on other white label as well. So what are brand leakages? A brand leakage can be in terms of the trademark name, for example, Agoda Cash or PointMax. This kind of thing we don't want to leak on to other system, and we have a lot of problem with this. C is to contain sensitive or specific feature with the white label service or behavior management. For example, personalization and urgency, CMA, this kind of thing. Please contain it with the white label service because it could be legal in one white label, but it could be illegal on another white label. So these are the three things you should do. A, always have a fallback. B is beware of brand leakage. C is contain specific features. Oh yes, I see some comments in the chat that there was a time that we have a Agoda logo appear on partner website and they were very angry. This kind of thing is brand leakage and we should avoid that. So these are three things we should do. Before we go, we are having a blog, two-part blog on this topic. It is called Building and Scaling Different Travel Website with one code base. This is coming soon on Agoda Tech Box. And please make sure to share it. I think Bree is going to give you more details about this. And when I was researching for cat names, I found these two cute cats. So I think I want to put it here before we go. Okay. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask in the chat or please feel free to turn on your microphone. Okay, so the first question is, do you agree that if each white label had its own database instance, then white label wouldn't be needed? Then you just need to configure each white label a little bit differently, aka feature flags with our white label has. I don't think it is what we are doing is a hack. We are actually doing feature flags right now. So we have features flag for each white label. Can you explain more about this question?
Any more questions? We have a lot of white label experts on the call here. Okay, we have another question from Johan.
Okay, another question is, are white label size a single level or do we have some kind of hierarchy functionalities? Thinking about partners with subsidiaries, etc., that might want to have feature or behavior instance. Okay. Let me think about this. So I believe your question is if there is one white label, for example, Club Travel, and then they have some white labels, right? We don't have that right now. I'm not sure if we are going to have that in the future, but yeah, we don't have that right now.
I can add one thing. I think there's
one example.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So let's say on the homepage, right, we have many tabs, right? Each tab, like we have hotel booking or NHA booking or flight booking. I think we can think that okay, flight booking is one of the big features, right? And then when you think about flight, there are many things in flight as well. It can be like a sub feature. So I am not sure that it really depends on how we define feature and behavior. Right? So in this case, we can define okay, anything that is under flight, it can be a sub feature or behavior. Yeah. But about inheritance, I think we don't have it right now. And variable service team is thinking about how can we do inheritance in this case.
Thank you. Okay, let's move on to the next question. It is that, do you have Confluence that lists current white label size? I don't think we have, but you can see the WebKit configuration files. That one, it has the list of all the white labels and the domain names. I'll post the link in the chat, or if anyone can help me with that, that would be great. But we have a Confluence for all features. Yeah. The next question, okay, I'll post that in the chat later. The next question is, do white labels transaction and analytics go into a Agoda data system? Yes, right. And then we have a field, the white label ID inside that. For example, the Urubu log, Japanican log, they also go to the same logging Kibana system as us. but we have the white label ID field there, and the domain is different. The next question is how white label differ from private label. Can you explain more about the private label? What do you mean by that?
Yeah, so these two terms use alternatively. So I just curious to know about difference between white label and private label, if anyone can answer.
Oh, for the terminology, I think that they are the same thing. I guess please correct me if I'm wrong, because we are building their website for them. So that could be called either white label or private label. The next question is, what is the difference between using behavior management and hard coding something like white label ID is Agoda? So yeah, is for using the white behavior. Yeah, okay.
Maybe I can help on this one. Yeah. So the behavior management that we define, the behavior is something which is very small under the big feature. So if you want to do something like really small in the code, then you can use behavior management. And also in the behavior management itself, the behavior model that you define actually has a condition of checking variable, right? Which is seems like equal to you are doing hard code variable, but it's actually different. On top of the model, we can provide the data as well. Like it's more depth type in the code, right? It's more readable, and from the condition itself, we can do condition tracking as well by sending this data to data store, right? And we can do some analysis there. Yeah. But if another thing is that we found a problem when we trying to identify feature in code. It's impossible to define feature in code because if you are doing if variable like everywhere in code, right, there's no relation between them. So to define behavior model, you can easily find your behavior which is connect to another component. I hope I answered the question.
If you want to have a follow-up question, please feel free to turn on your microphone or put it in the chat.
Yeah, that answered my question. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. The next one is, how do we manage properties for white label side? I think we have a column. I'm not sure about this. I think I see someone from the YCS side. Can you help me with this?
YCS.
Yeah. So the question is, how do we manage this? How do we manage properties for white label sites? Do we have a column for that?
It's much more complicated, but there are ways that help identify which property belongs to which white label. At least GTB definitely has a way to know what is their specific property. If we have here Chris, Christoph, he probably can explain it better.
I'm not sure. I heard that we have like something on SEO that we enabling the property first for each variable, but I'm not sure about backend.
Yeah. So I'm very sorry for this, but I'll follow up with your question because the white label is quite a big one. So I'm working mostly on the main funnel side. So I'm not sure about the backend, but I'll find the answer for you.
Yeah, probably this can be another tech talk.
Yeah.
To answer the question itself.
Yeah. If any backend guy wants to do on this topic, please feel free. I want to join. The next question is about the blog. Yeah, we censor the brand name. We try to not leave any brand. I remove any confidential data that we have on there. So, and we send it to Max and Anton. They are giving their opinions on that. The next question is, do we support white label on ODC by default, or we have the ability to keep it limited to certain DCs based on the use case. For example, I'm a brand in China serving China market. I don't really need my white label to be served out of Ashburn. Let me think about this.
If you want to read, I can cover this. So, do you mind?
Yeah, please. Thank you.
So basically, we're trying to follow the same traffic flow, and that's the same way how we organize data centers. Because since we're using the same infrastructure, same instances of front-end and back-end systems, and the same data pipeline, in case when you move the traffic, you well, as much as possible, want to avoid the additional complexity of, okay, did I move Agoda or I moved all traffic? So when you move traffic, you move all traffic. So that's why it follows the same patterns and the same architecture as we have for main OTA for Agoda.
Thank you for that. Okay, we have 5 minutes, so I'll take
Okay,
this
we'll take
as
one
the
last question.
Yeah.
How do we store PI, data for white labels?
I might be also a little bit wrong, and if guys from Kapi and Enigma here, please stop me. But it's very similar to the way how we do this for Agoda, but the all account information is fenced by white label. So let's say you can have an account for like abc@gmail.com on 2 white labels at the same time. So account base is shared. And all of the procedures related with the GDPR and PII security, they're similar to Agoda.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Red. Thank you, Anton. Thank you, Patafat, for helping us address all the questions.
Yep. Thank you very much for joining, and have a lovely Thursday.